Today's video, we're going to be checking out the Eaglemoss Collection's Batman Automobilia. This is the definitive collection of Batman vehicles. This is the classic TV series Batmobile. I really lucked out because my local comic book store has now started to restock these Batmobiles. They've got a whole bunch of them currently on their shelves, but they're not the ones that come with the magazines, and I guess they've been opened. I don't know if somebody has just returned back a whole bunch of vehicles or sold a lot of the Batmobile collections maybe that they had in their possession. But normally it would come in a cardboard bottom, and you would have to open that up, and it would also come with a supplied magazine. So the ones there, they only have just the Batmobiles, and I might be inclined to pick up more of those. I really would like to get the magazines along with that and maybe eventually have a library of the different Batmobiles. Before we look at this, of course, we're going to go ahead and take some dimensions. If you look at just the case and not the Batmobile inside, the Batmobile, theoretically, you could unscrew. There's two screws on the bottom here. I'll show you that in a second. But if you look at just the case, display-wise, the case would be about 8 inches wide and roughly about let's say about 3¼ inches by about, let's look at the top. The top is about 4 inches. Then the Batmobile inside is about 5 inches in length. If you're lucky enough to get these sealed, it comes with its own magazine. Eaglemoss, generally, much like the starships from Star Trek, you're generally probably subscribing to the service to get the collectible and less the magazine. If you're looking to get a lot of reading from the magazines, you're going to be pretty disappointed. It's a very thin, very little to kind of wet your whistle for information. Let me just kind of show you what's inside the classic TV series magazine. I also should have showed you guys how it came bagged, because so basically the Batmobile is kind of like this, and then it's also on its own cardboard bottom. I've just taken it off out of the cardboard packaging, but it's in a bag like this. And a lot of times you'll find that the magazine has kind of frayed because the way it's shrunk wrapped, or it's inside its own sleeve, that ends up curling the magazine. So it's not the most flattest, pristine sort of magazines. But we'll look through it. It includes a 3D lenticular official collector's models die-cast vehicles. Right there. Got the image of the Batmobile on front. Inside, the many different gadgets, some of them more ridiculous than others. The headlight ray being one of them. Battering ram, the mobile crime computer, the Bat Beam, the tire repair service, and this was one of my all-time favorites, the emergency parachutes, which I don't know how that really worked, but there was always a van that came up right after the Batmobile would deploy and release its parachutes. This van would just come up, and it was like the parachute pickup service. I don't know how that really worked. I don't know how Batman paid him, but that's what happened. There's an image of the Batmobile, classic series Batmobile. That's what it looks like inside the Batcave. And then you've got what the original Batmobile would have looked like. This was pulled from the original Ford Lincoln Futura with a read-up that says, when in 1950, the Ford Motor Company decided to halt production on the Lincoln Futura, then dubbed the car of the future, they had no idea how well-known their expensive concept car would become, costing $250,000. Now, keeping in mind, $250,000 in 1950, I don't know what the cost of inflation would be on that, but costing $250,000 to produce in a factory in Turin, Italy, the Futura was considered too expensive, and like many other concept cars, abandoned after just one vehicle was produced. Picking up by the George Barris of Barris Custom City in the mid-1960s, reportedly for the measly sum of $1. The concept car found a new lease in life when in August 1965, the producers of the Batman TV series approached George and asked him to build a Batmobile. With filming set to begin in less than 3 weeks, the veteran car mechanic decided that the Futura already had enough, quote, bat-like qualities to make it the ideal template. With a few modifications, the bodywork, and the addition of gadgets, the Batmobile was born. Now, let me just show you what the Futura would have looked like. You can see, really, there was very, very little that was involved in changing that out to what we would get the Batmobile. I mean, really, the body is almost identical, other than a few little changes in the front here. Like the bat nose would have had to been added. The domes would have, I think the dome came across completely on the Futura. They would have also had to remove that and made it just an open cockpit. And there's what the Futura seating would have looked like. Could you imagine driving that around? At $250,000, I don't think many people had the option to drive that around. You've got a very brief, simple blueprint of the Batmobile, but then you can go ahead and open up the magazine completely, and you've got the inner workings of the classic series Batmobile, right down to the chain and barrier slicer. I never saw that in the series. A lot of other colorful gadgets never really seeing the light of day. You can kind of imagine what the Batmobile could have done if given the chance. There's also some stats on the side. The curb weight was 5,500 pounds. Wheelbase was 126 inches. Length was 225 inches. Width was 84. Front, I should say. Width rear was 79. Height was 48. Fins was 84. And then down below, you had your car phone, police band cut-in switch, emergency turn lever, laser ray, the automatic fire extinguisher, battering ram, mobile, bat computer, bat beam, emergency tire inflator, smoke screen, and photoscope. Also voice control Batmobile relay unit, mobile tracking scope as well. And then lastly, on the very back, you've just got some interesting little what was Batman doing in the 1960s. With the launch of the Batman TV series in 1966, Batman achieved an unparalleled level of success on both television and in the comics. There you go. And then that's what it looks like on the back. So really, it's a very thin read. There's not a whole lot to sink your teeth into. So then we have a look at the Batmobile itself. I've already taken the liberty of taking the cardboard. I've opened it out of the cardboard packaging it comes in, and there's just these two very small seals on either side keeping everything together. If you break the seal on both sides, you can open this up like that, and you've got yourself a lenticular backdrop of the Batcave, and a slight tilting of that. You can see how it's very slightly shifting, giving you the sense that it's almost got a 3D look to it. There's the back, not much for that. The top of the case is clear. You've got a Bat logo at the top there, which actually isn't, I don't think it's the same Bat logo. Maybe it is. No, it's not. I think that's a different Bat logo. And yeah, again, not really much to be said for that. I had mentioned that you could take the Batmobile out of the bottom area here. It just involves two screws. You just have to unscrew those and you could take the Batmobile off. Now, I really have enough Batmobiles in my possession, whether it be the Hot Wheels, whether it be the Jada Toys, also did some cool die-cast versions of the Batmobiles, that I have enough fair share of Batmobiles that I really don't need this one on display as well. I will display this, of course, like what you see here, or at the very least, I will put the lid over top of it. But I don't feel the need to take it off completely from its base. There's the Batmobile sitting inside the Batcave with a couple of Bat computers at the back. Mild painting to them, and we've got a little couple of radar scopes there. The backside absolutely hollow, but you're really only going to see it from this side. And technically as well, the card is going to cover over it, so you're really not going to see the back of the computer either. Then you've got the Batmobile itself looking very nice. There's no opening doors to this. They've just sculpted it shut. It does feel like, I know feeling is not the best gauge to whether something is metal, but it does feel like it could have some metal to it. The tires appear to have rubber to them as well. I suppose theoretically you could rotate them, but can't really rotate much the way it's been attached to the bottom. You have on the front the Batman Classic TV series. Batmobile is really nicely done. Part of me wishes that there were working components to it, like you could have opened up the trunk, you could have opened up the back trunk area here. At the very least you could have opened the doors, but that's okay. Now, at one point, I think one of my original Batmobiles that I had was, I think it was made by Corgi. And there was this little button here. Well, actually, it housed a Batman and a Robin inside the seats that you could take out. But there was also one notable feature. There was a button on the front here where the Bat Ray kind of was. You press that button, and this blade would jet out. It's kind of like a half-moon, sort of shape, and it would just jet out, and you could fold that back, and I think that was metal. That's one of my earliest Batmobiles. I got that at I think at a garage sale for, I want to say like $4 or something like that. Some detailing on the interior here, right all the way down to the fact that the Bat logos are featured on the back of the seats. You get the Bat phone inside, you got the Bat lever. I know I'm just adding Bat to a lot of that. Little Bat lever, which I think allowed the Batmobile to rotate and eject the parachutes. The steering wheel is painted in silver. Very mild detailing, not really much on the dashboard, but in the show, there really wasn't a lot on the dashboard anyways. A lot of it involved you opening up doors. Like there was the little accordion sort of door, and then there was the Bat computer and other stuff inside of that. But I think it's a pretty faithful recreation for judging by its size. All the little necessary details are there, just on a much smaller scale. The Batmobile is very shiny. And you've got the additional, a lot of people think it's red, but it's actually closer to being more of a darker orange, making up the trim around the wheels, around the sides, and then, of course, on the very famous front of the Batmobile. Which, when we looked at the Futura, this front here would have just been one main bumper, and then they went in and added this additional nose. But it did look like a Bat, and I can definitely see why they would have thought the Futura was a good pick to make a new Batmobile out of. It's a really nice showpiece. It's small, granted, yes, but it does definitely capture exactly what I would want from collecting a Batmobile collection from Eaglemoss. The benefit, of course, as well, is that you can either display it out of the package, essentially like this, where you just see the Batmobiles as they are, or you can also display them inside the case. The benefit of the case is you're obviously not going to have to worry about dusting this as often, because everything is nice and kept clean inside. Minus really the cartoons as well as the comics that would feature the Batmobile, this was really my first introduction to Batman's famous car, was in the original 60s TV series, and I really always loved this vehicle. Granted, apparently it wasn't a super fast vehicle. In fact, a lot of times when it was exiting out of the Batcave, they had to speed up the footage just so that the car would look faster than it was actually. Eaglemoss, I think, has done a bang-up job on recreating the Batmobile in a much smaller scale size. I mean, granted, of course, you could take this completely off of the base, but I think the base, as well as showcasing it with the backdrop, is really the best way to go for displaying these. I mean, I really have enough larger scale Batmobiles that I really don't feel the need that I would want to be taking this off of its base just to see if I could roll it around. I mean, it's been very exquisitely detailed. You can even see like the inner workings of where the seat areas where Batman and Robin would sit. They've even gone as far as to paint all the dashboard indicators and even like the Bat phone and stuff like that. So really a great looking job. Love to get myself more of these. I guess it's just a case of whatever I can get at my local comic book store. Again, they have a whole bunch of Batmobiles, but they have all the ones without the magazines. I don't know how maybe somebody had brought them in and sold them. I'm not really sure the case. Even though the magazines are really flimsy and there's not much in the way of a read-up, it gives you enough information that, you know, you don't feel like you're getting robbed from a magazine service. The benefit is really like the starships, the starship itself, or in this case, the Batmobile itself. You would think at the very least that Eaglemoss could give you enough of a read with the magazine, and I feel that that's the case there. I don't feel like I'm just opening up the magazine and there's like one or two little articles, and that's really it. So good job. Nice job from Eaglemoss. Hopefully it's not my last. Today we were having a look at the Eaglemoss collection, Batman Automobilia. This was the definitive collection of the Batman vehicles, and this was the Batman Classic TV series. If you guys wanted to check out some more Eaglemoss reviews, even though I haven't really done a whole bunch of them on this channel, hopefully that will change. There's an Eaglemoss playlist that you can go and check out at your viewing pleasure. Make sure you also hit that little subscribe button. More videos will be coming your way. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.